Hey everybody, welcome back to Indie Game Business. It is just Tom and I today because Dan is in the process of driving, once again, all the way across the United States of America, which I don't even know how to put that in European terms. That's like maybe all of Europe. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But we have fantastic today. We've got Piotr and Marcin from GOG. We're going to be talking about preserving games, probably a little bit of distribution stuff, all that kind of fun topics. But let's start with the introduction. So, Marcin, tell us how you originally got into the industry, and then walk us through your career up to this point.
Yeah, sure. So first of all, hello everyone. Thanks for having us on the show. My name is Marcin Paczynski. I'm currently a senior biz dev at GOG.com. So I am here since the very beginning, actually. So it's over 17 years now. And during that time, I played at different roles within the company. I actually started as a tester. Then I was, releasing games, fixing games. Then I was there for a couple of years. I was the head of the department that handled basically all of that technical / fixing / releasing and magic, the whole magic that happened in GOG with all of those amazing games that we had released. And 5 years ago, I switched to the biz dev side of things. So what that practically means is that I am right now responsible from the very, very beginning of that whole bringing games back cycle, which is tracking down the rights for the game, like negotiating deals. Convincing all of those big publishers that it is worth their while to release this small title that they had released like 20 years ago, and that's currently my main focus. So the whole process of releasing and bringing back a game to GOG starts with the team that I am a part of, which is the biz dev team.
Peter, your turn.
Okay, thanks a lot. And Marcin, by the way, has a lot of amazing stories because he's kind of like Indiana Jones of game preservation. So he can tell you things, how some games appear on GOG. So hi, my name is Piotr. I've been in industry from the late 90s. I started with TTRPG, tabletop role-playing games. And my favorite one is over here, Vampire the Masquerade, of course. So I started as an editor for the magazine in Poland, writing old stuff. When I moved, like everybody from the RPG industry, to the then being born computer games industry, when I work as a scripter and game designer in Metropolis Software. I created a gaming blog and became a media, and I was doing this for quite some time. After that, I moved to Platige Image, a famous CGI company. After that, to indie publishing in walkabout games and movie games. And after that, I'm here at GOG as a senior PR, and I'm in charge of making people care about game preservation.
I love that description of PR. We're here to make you care. Whether you want to or not, we're going to make you care.
We'll make you care about game preservation.
So for everyone who doesn't know who GOG is, can you briefly sum up what it is and how you're different than, Steam and Epic Game Store and any of the other distribution platforms?
Yeah, sure. So GOG is a game distribution platform. It was founded by the founders actually of CD Projekt Red back in 2008. And the original idea came from a fact that one of our founders in the United States, actually, when he went to a GameStop, and basically he noticed that the game he wanted to buy that was released just a couple of years ago was not available, right? So he wanted to buy another game, and it turns out that another game actually is right now not playable because it was released on the previous version of Windows, and with the current one is not compatible. That was that crazy era of where
switching from DOS to Windows 60, right?
Yeah, the games were still like mainly on a physical medium, and digital hasn't like lived off yet. And there were like hundreds of even thousands of games that was lost in that transition period, right? So you bought a game like a couple of years ago, and you launch it now on your new PC, and basically it's gone. We were not able to make it work. So yeah, there's clearly a problem here that we need to solve. So that's how the idea for GOG. That's where it came from. And so that is why, since the very beginning of the GOG, our like the core values and something that we are still standing by is DRM free, is the sense of ownership, and and all of those things that we do to preserve the experience for as long as possible, and of course everything is done so digitally. So that's how it started.
I would also add that back then we were called Good Old Games, but after some time, we since when we added like indie games, modern games to the platform, we switched the name to GOG, and it's now GOG.com.
Yeah, so that's how it started. We were called Good Old Games. We released a lot of absolutely fantastic classic games back then from Interplay, from EA, from Ubisoft. And after a couple of years, we kind of like wanted to expand our catalog and basically give our users something more. So we like kind of rebranded to the GOG instead of just Good Old Games, because we started releasing like indie games day one, and that worked amazingly. A couple of years passed, and we released our first AAA game day one in 2015. That was The Witcher 3. Although you might say that The Witcher 2 was also AAA, we also had that day one, but that was the big one, right? The Witcher 3. That was also the time when we launched our client, GOG Galaxy, with the achievements, cloud saves, and all of those functionalities that you might expect. And that was in 2015, 2016, and we continue to do it ever since. Like, we are releasing classic games. We are still putting a lot of time and effort into maintaining our back catalog, into bringing the games that are not available anywhere for years back to life, like our Breath of Fire 4, the most recent one, I think. And we continue to release also the big day one titles like Stalker 2. Like Doom 2016, like Silent Hill 2, and so on and so forth. And recently, like in the last year, I want to say that we kind of got back to our roots to some extent, meaning that we put a lot more focus on what we kind of are doing best in the market, which is game preservation. With our programs like GOG Game Preservation Program, GOG Preservation Program, the Dream List, and the so-called GOG one-click mods that we released just 2 years back. I can talk more about all of those afterwards if needed. But the point is basically what differentiates is what makes us different from Steam, from Epic, from any other platform is basically like the Steam and Epic are basically just huge marketplaces, right? They are focused on the new content on the day one, and we are focused on the back catalog. So the idea is that, and why we are focused on back catalog, what that actually means is that we are doing all of that technical work. Meaning that we are buying a back catalog on GOG, especially the game that is currently in the GOG preservation program. Right now it's like, I think, 200 titles. You can be sure that it works, like 95% sure that it will launch on your PC that you bought just yesterday, even though the game was released like 10, 15 years ago. And if not only like work, meaning that will not only launch, but it will also, support your, switch to controller that you just bought, or, your multi-monitors PC setup with ultra wide screen and so on and so forth. So all of those things we are taking care of with our game preservation program. And in the future, our hope is one more sentence. In the future, our hope is that with what we are doing, with what we are focusing now, is that we will be viewed by the gamers as, practically speaking, the best platform to buy back catalog games. So whenever we are thinking about buying a title that was released like 5 years ago, maybe more, the first place that you will look for is actually GOG, because only on GOG you will have almost certainty that the game will still work as it should. So that is what makes us different.
I would also, on top of it, I would add two small things. Like, one, more serious, we are curated platforms, so you have to talk to Marcin's team to be published and distributed by GOG. And the second one, not that important, we are, I think, the leading and I think only European platform. So
the game preservation thing is the one that's most interesting to me because I'm old and a lot of the games that I want to play half the time don't exist anymore. How do you approach that? I mean, what is the program? How does it work? How is it going? Give us the lowdown.
Oh yeah, the GOG preservation program, it has a interesting beginning because we, as I just said, GOG preservation program was started just a year ago in November, and also I said that basically GOG has been doing that since the very beginning of the platform. So what's up with that? And the thing is that basically during all of those years, we ported a lot of games to the new operating systems and released them on GOG. We have right now on GOG, we have over 3,000 titles that we created the builds for. So if you get it, if you download those games from GOG, it was not the developer, not the publisher, it was us that created and tested the build. The problem with that is that when you have a catalog of 3,000 titles, what we found out is basically that, it also deteriorates with time. It's not that we were selling games that did not work. We are not doing that. It's basically that the quality of those games was deteriorating, meaning that you had not like a 95% chance that it will work. It was more closer to like 70. Some of the functionalities might have deteriorated. Like, for example, you want to alt tab the game, minimize it, it doesn't work or crashes the game or whatever. You have a ultra widescreen TV, you change the resolution, the game breaks. So things like that. So basically, we are looking at our catalog. Hey, this is not the quality that we sign up for. And there is something that needs to be done here. So we started to go through all of those back catalog games that we released. We tested them, we researched them, we checked what's going on with there, and basically we noticed that it's actually way worse than what we thought. And then we need to do something about it. That's where the idea of building a program around it and clearly labeling the games that we do the work for originated from. And it's not just us fixing those games, putting them in a program, and that's it. It's actually more complicated than that, because we are not only fixing them for today, we are also making sure that they are hooked up to our newest technologies, our newest tools that are allowing us to do all of that stuff in a scale. And that is actually a huge part of it, because we are talking about maintaining 200 games, actively maintaining 200 games. So I'm not sure if there's any publisher out there that is maintaining actively that many titles. What that active maintenance means, that basically we get a support ticket that says that one of the things that we said works does not, that game automatically becomes a priority for our technical team to address. So that is what active maintenance means. And also one of the reasons why we didn't start it earlier is that we did not have, I believe, have tools and the know-how and the resources needed to make that commitment, because it's a huge commitment to be able to do it for so many games. And our end goal is actually the entire catalog. So right now we have like 3,000 titles that are just waiting to queue.
Classical titles.
Not only. Basically, those are all of the titles that are maintained by us. And in that list, there are also games that were released just a couple of years ago that are no longer maintained by the developer. There's a long way still to go, but we are scaling the program. We are making it better. We are learning a lot of new things that we are then incorporating into how we do things. So far so good. So fingers crossed, by the end of the year we'll have 350 titles. That's the goal. And next year I'm really hoping for 1,000.
Also because of our internal technologies that we develop over time, like our own branch of DOSBox or input wrappers and DirectX wrappers, we could also add new functionality, as Marcin said, to the classical games. So sometimes it's a cloud saves, but also alt tabbing. The standards that modern gamer, modern player is used to, we make them available in classical games, but they weren't built for it because the technology was obviously not there at the time.
Yeah.
So we had Larry from Night Dive on a couple of weeks ago, pre-Gamescom.
Oh yeah.
And
Love Larry,
Larry was talking about how they ended up creating their own engine in-house at Night Dive to move a lot of these, and it's mainly first-person shooters. But how long, one, did it take you? I mean, do you have specialized tools? I'm assuming you do. How long did it take to put all that together? And then, as a follow-up, when you have all of these games from history, how do you prioritize, given limited resources, what you add and what you don't?
Oh yeah.
So we have a tool called Dream List when we ask players to vote for the games that they want to see on our platform, and also share memories. So we basically know where the nostalgia is the heaviest and what should be. Of course, if you look at our top Dream Listed games, so wishlist games on the platform, Marcin's team is obviously talking with top 10 or even top 15 for some time, so we're actively working on them to bring it to the platform, because bringing back games takes a lot of time. It needs we need to solve three riddles, three questions, like how to do it legally and can we do it. Second is, of course, technical stuff, and third is the business cases. So once we align these three answers, the game can appear. So yeah, for us, of course, first is how big is this game, how important is this game. We look at the cultural significance and the weight of how it impacted the gaming world, but also can we do it? Do we know who owns the rights? Do we know how to do it technically? And of course, since we are a business, is the business viable for us?
Yeah, there are two parts of that question. Like, one is basically the games that are not yet available on the platform. So that is exactly what we are using our recently released Dreamlist for, and that tool has been amazing for us to be able to prioritize certain titles. And there were a couple of big surprises there in terms of games that we haven't heard about, and basically they are up there almost at the top. My best examples my most interesting example, I feel, is the Digimon. That basically
Digimon.
Before Digimon or or however you pronounce it, before the Dreamlist, I did not know that game existed.
People went crazy. We have how many thousands of votes instantly.
Yeah,
a lot
more
people
titles.
were asking with interviews about the Digimon and when are we bringing back the Digimon. So yeah,
so we have a couple of titles there where we are looking at it like, what's going on here? And it turns out that there's this cult following, many people that just love that particular game. And you look at the reviews when the game was coming out, and it's 7 out of 10, nothing remarkable. It turns out that there's a cult following, which is amazing. Because this is exactly why we created the Dreamlist for. And this is actually not used for right now by us, but also by some of our partners to gauge the interest on some of the titles that they have in their back catalog. So the Dreamlist is a start. As for how we are prioritizing games for the program that we currently have, it's a couple of factors that we take into consideration. The most obvious one is basically how many people would be impacted by that upgrade. So basically just how many copies were sold on GOG. That's the most obvious one, because if we do that, we are impacting the most amount of people with each game added to the GOG preservation program. Other is events. So whenever something is happening around the game series, we tend to focus the games that we have that are in those series. Like, for example, we did with Stalker games. And those are, I feel, all two main ones. And there are
I would also
titles...
Marcin, add here the recent events in the industry. So when we get to know that Monolith will be close and Sphere, the developer of Sphere, so we make a judgment call to make them part of the program to preserve the games.
Yeah,
sitting
and
here.
there are, and to be perfectly honest, there were a couple of titles that we were like, okay, I know that it doesn't sell that well, but we love that game. We
Yeah.
need to we need to fix it. So yeah, there were a couple of examples like that as well. But in general, yeah, that's more or less how we are doing it, with a sprinkle of gut feeling and personal perception.
Well, I'm very happy to see that one of my favorite franchises of all time is at the top of this list, and that would be Black and White.
That's a story that Marcin may tell you.
Ooh, I want to hear it.
GOG.
Why haven't you done Black and White yet?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Black and White.
Two multi-million companies question.
Yeah, Black and White is basically one of those games that because previously we also had like a wish list on GOG. It was there since the beginning, but it was kind of hidden, so only our core community knew about it. And Black and White was always up there. On top of that, that is actually one of my favorite games as well, especially the first one. A lot of memories with that one. So the problem with Black and White is that it's currently being held. The rights are split between two companies. It's Microsoft and it's EA. So in order to bring that game back, you would need to create a business case that is strong enough, that is big enough for those two companies to be able to assign resources needed to spin that deal, if that makes sense.
It does to me, yes.
Yes. So it's not an easy task. And on top of that, that's not even taking into consideration the fact that what is happening, because the question what is happening next will need to be answered. Like who is responsible for what? Who basically owns the right for remasters, possible sequels? Well, possible sequels I more or less know who knows who might own the right. But this is a very, very complicated situation that we tried to solve many times. Even with the author, actually, the mastermind,
original creator,
Peter Molyneux. Yeah, he was actually the one that I first contacted when I joined BizDev, like all of those 6 years ago. And basically, he was kind enough to to lay down the situation with me, like what is happening there, who owns what. But once he did that, we discussed this internally. We tried to move it, to push for it a couple of times. It didn't really work for the reasons I just explained. However, we never give up.
But the split rights, as Marcin can tell you more, like the usual problem, why the game is not available because of split rights. So once there's a story when Marcin had to hire a private investigator to track down the person who has the rights because it was a part of an inheritance that he didn't know he inherited. So
that was not split rights. That was not a split rights issue. Split rights is basically we have that's actually quite common. That is, there's a game that is developed, and because of the weird wording in the agreement, that was not sometimes even intentional. After years, part of the rights go back to the developer, but part of the rights do not. So there were a lot of games that we needed to solve that issue for. There are, of course, the issues of expiring rights and so on and so forth. And what Piotr just described was a situation in which there was a game that was owned by the company and that got bankrupt, and someone got those rights, and that person died, and his son inherited it with the whole bunch of other things, and he didn't knew about it. So, and that guy was like really living off the grid, like in UK. I think it was like the Scottish mountains or something like that. He was living my life. So it was hard to find him. So I actually hired a guy inside UK that was tasked with finding him, and but we didn't know how he will react, right? But once he told him that, hey, you own the rights, we can bring those games back. We do all of that work, right? You just need to let us. And he was super positive about it. Like, this is the legacy of my father, and the company he built and so on and so forth. So that was one of those amazing stories in which we were able to bring a title back. And to be perfectly honest, like it's for games like that, like the longer we wait, the harder it is. Because that was like easy situation in which there was only one guy who inherited it. But if, God forbid, something happened to them and he has 3 children, that we have situations like that. Then all of those rights are split between all 3. So, the longer you wait, the harder it gets. So yeah, that's one of the stories. The whole process is usually quite complicated, challenging, but also entertaining sometimes.
But once in a while, we have like an easy situation. So if you can tell the System Shock story, because this is one of my favorites, that sometimes miracles happen.
But that wasn't an easy situation. It was just a well-guided one.
Easy situation from the perspective that we want to have a game, we are trying to have it signed, we will try to figure out who owns the rights and so on and so forth for years, literally. And suddenly there is this random guy from the internet that sends an email, hey, I own the rights, I want to release it on GOG. And we're like, what? This is BS, right? And he's sending us all of the materials, because we were from the position, we really thought that we are doing a great job tracking down the rights, right? It's super hard. It's practically speaking impossible, right? And there is this guy, I kind of solved it in my spare time. Yeah. So, but he had a couple of, to be perfectly honest, he had a couple of important pieces of information that we were missing. But yeah, that was of course Stephen Kick, and that's how Nightdive was formed.
So someone asked, how do we go about suggesting games for the product? And it's right there in that link that I posted, because you can either vote for something that's already on the list, or you can add something that's not on the list. But that's an easy answer. We can do that one really quick.
Yeah.
But I also encourage this person to add the stories and memories connected to the games, because publishers and IP owners read that stuff. And we had the situations when like really nostalgic and touching story tipped the scales. And it was one of the reasons that the company said, yes, let's do it with GOG. So these stories are important. Like they don't seem so, but they really are. People read them.
Yeah. We actually had a situation with one of our publishers that we are talking with, actually quoting one of the stories that I cannot share the title of the game or the publisher yet, but hopefully that was definitely one of the biggest ones that we are still hiding for. Not Black and White, unfortunately.
What is it, and why is it No One Lives Forever? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we'll be doing like an elimination process, not this, not that, and we will come to the right. I just I don't want to share anything else because I don't want to jinx it. But there's also a second part. Second part to that question, because one is the dream list is basically for the games that we do not have on GOG. But there's also a problem that we haven't yet solved, to be perfectly honest, which is prioritizing games to the program that our community would like to see, that we already have on GOG. So like a wish list for the game preservation program for games that are already on the platform. That we haven't solved yet, but this is something that we are working on.
So once a game is on the dream list and you all look at it and say, okay, that's the next one we're doing, what is the usual, how long does it take you all to do this?
It was that easy that we are choosing one by one. The reality is that we are actually, I want to say that I wouldn't be far from the truth if I said that we approached all of the top 500 games from the dream list at least once. Not since the dream list was released, but ever. And it's so we more or less know or have like some idea about the situation for all of those games. The problem is that many of them are either they have big IPs or are owned by the biggest publishers out there. So what we do in the situations like that, it basically we approach the publisher that we believe has the rights. We present him with an offer, or we are trying to convince him in some other ways that racing these games and spending that time on bringing it back, spending all of those resources will be sensible for them from the business perspective. It will make sense, and and because, like I said, most of those games, we are not talking about millions of dollars here, right? Those opportunities, unfortunately, are quite small. It becomes a challenge in the sense that this is actually, I believe, like the most important part of the work that we are doing at GOG in BizDev, is that we are constantly trying to find new ways to make those projects worth everyone's time, either through simply speaking minimum guarantees, or leveraging certain PR aspects of it, the aspects of hey, if you do this and there's a new game in the IP that you are working on, it will invigorate the IP, or it will create a situation in which you will be able to check for yourself how many people are actually interested still in that particular game, for the purpose of creating something else in the genre, in the given IP.
It's an amazing way to check how people react to the game, what are the comments, what do they like, what they don't like when you are thinking about the sequel to the classical original game. There's no better way by testing this and making them commercially available to gamers, right?
Yeah, and a lot of it is also patiently waiting, because when the company has a busy year, it's extremely difficult to squeeze in any smaller projects there. But if there was a good year and there is like a slower period, or the opposite, it was a bad year and they are looking for a few additional dollars to hit those KPIs, that's where the offers that we have become much more appealing, so to speak. And so it also takes a lot of patience. So we knock on the door once a year, every 6 months, every year, and once in a while, the planets align and we have a release. And this is actually a story of many those big classic titles that we released on GOG. That it took a lot of persistence and creative thinking, so to speak, to not only wait for to be able to use the opportunity that was presented by the certain set of circumstances. So yeah, if working at BizDev at GOG teaches anything, is patience.
I would also add that we as a GOG has a really awesome and I think quite huge community, and we actively talking to them. So this also might be interesting to publishers and indie developers out there. We have a quite nice social media, we have Discord, we have newsletters, so we actively promote the games on the platform. So this also might be an argument for both modern games and classical ones to appear on the platform, because we usually brag about them, talk about them, try to make people care.
So speaking of modern games, question from Sargon. Given that GOG sells some modern Sony games now, what are the chances of seeing some Psygnosis titles such as Draken, Order of the Flame, and Lemmings?
Oh my God. Like I said, we approached, I imagine that both of those games are in top 500 of the games on that drip list. I wouldn't be surprised if they were in the top 30. So in general, our relations with Japanese partners are growing. Like in the recent years, I want to say that we've been able to build a very like a solid presence in Japan, in the sense that the big Japanese publishers are looking at GOG as a platform or a partner that they can trust with their back catalog games, and that can be shown with many
Resident Evil,
releases that we had from Japanese partners recently, like Resident Evil titles, like Dino Crisis, like Breath of Fire, of course those Sony titles as well, Yakuza, and many other. We have titles from Konami, Silent Hill 2, and so on and so forth. So it was not easy to build those relationships with Japan, especially from the perspective of being a DRM-free platform. But I'm happy to say that we've managed to get a huge progress there. And I wanted to say that with some of the biggest Japanese publishers, we have very, very good relations with. And we are working on more titles to be released, more Japanese titles to be released on GOG. So I cannot talk about specific titles. Well, unfortunately, I would love to, because that would
but you're quite excited about them.
That could be harmful to the talks that we are currently having. But the list right now is quite extensive. So hopefully within a month, 2 or 2 months, you will start seeing more very much known Japanese IPs being released on the platform.
All right, so this is a good one, and it gets into a bunch of technical stuff that I don't understand, but I like the question anyway. So does GOG only preserve, or does it create online capabilities and servers? So, for example, Dead Space 2 versus mode, BioShock 2 online versus mode, old games that used to have a great multiplayer community that died out because the servers are crap, if not totally disabled.
Yeah, that's a big one. And that is unfortunately also like our kind of like a blind spot right now, but this is something that we are fully aware of, and we are kind of working on addressing that issue. Because what used to happen is that for many of the games that we brought back, we brought them back in a form in which all of the multiplayer or online aspects of the game are being removed or turned off. So we have this pure single player experience. You can play the entire campaign, but if the game had a multiplayer in it, then we are not able to do much with that feature, unfortunately. And one of the main reasons is actually that 99% of the time we do not have access to the source code. And this is actually a big difference between us, what we are doing, and what Night Dive is doing, and all of those other companies that are bringing all of those games back. They are working on the source code, right? They need the source code in order to be able to create those versions that they are releasing. And especially Night Dive, they are doing absolutely phenomenal job with it. Like the new Hex and Heretic release is absolutely glorious. I spent so many hours in it already in the multiplayer. So we do not have the source code. So if there is a multiplayer feature in the game, online feature, it's extremely hard for us to bring this back. That said, whenever we do have that capability, like for example, Battlefront games 1 and 2, Star Wars Battlefront, the classical ones from 2004 and 2005, maybe. Those were the examples of a game for which we did get the source code, and we were able to bring the multiplayer back in them. But that is a really rare case. That said, we are looking right now in a way is to be able to have the multiplayer back in games that had it done in an online way. So there was an online multiplayer there, but for a certain wrapper to be able to play those games online, but through LAN. So we are working on a technology like that, and if we manage to do it, then we will be able to bring back multiplayer to many titles that we currently have on the platform. It will just be happening through the LAN protocol, and through VPN. You can, practically speaking, play online with everybody.
But sometimes when we do have access to the source content, and it happens from time to time, we are able sometimes to fix all the bugs in the games. Like in Sentinel 4, we found out that PC players were only available to see 4 out of 7 hauntings in the game because of like really small typo in the source code, and we found it, fixed it. So hence the GOG version now, for the first time, PC players can experience all of the 7 hauntings that are in the game.
So bringing the game back from a technology standpoint is one thing, and there's just you talked about a game coming out in 2005, and you have to do the math backwards. It's like, to me, that doesn't sound like it was that long ago. I had been in the industry 7 or 8 years at that point, but that was 20 years ago. How do you revive the interest? How do you bring it back commercially? And because you're dealing with an entire generation now who wasn't even born when some of these games were made.
We actually came to a realization that is close to what you just said, because we were thinking, okay, what makes a game a classic?
Classic,
right? Yeah. What is a classic game? Like, is it a 20 years old game? Like, it's from the 90s? What are we talking about here? And we kind of came to a realization, like, the classic game is the game that invokes the feelings of nostalgia in you. So it's a personal experience. Like, it's very subjective. So what is a classic for you and me, right? So we are probably talking about the games from the 90s or early 2000s. But if someone is 25 years old or 20 years old, let's do it even more interesting. For that person, Witcher 3 is a game from his early
golden
childhood.
oldie, yeah.
Because that game was released 10 years ago. Same for Fallout 4.
Yeah.
How old is GTA 5 right now?
13 years, like, I think. PS3 is PS3 game.
Is it really that old?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and so this is exactly
when I joined GOG, they said you'll be doing with classical games. It's like, okay, so Nintendo 64, like NES, Super Nintendo. I said, no, like Alpha Protocol. But I was there on the launch, like with Oblivion. These are modern games, like they launched like a year, 2 years ago. No, just 10 years ago or 20 years ago. Like, so, if you were born on the day of the launch of Oblivion, right now you are legally able to drink in Poland, right? You're 18 years old.
Well, maybe that should be the classification. It's a classic if the game could drink legally. There you go.
So with Marcin, we are doing.
We were doing a talk on Digital Dragons conference in Krakow this year with Marcin. So there we are trying to define, as Marcin was saying, what is a classical game, and we needed to put the bar somewhere. So we said, like, either it's around 10 years or 2 console generations back. Yeah. So for us, the games from PS3, Xbox 360 are right now a classic or 10-year-old game. But what we also discovered is the game right now are aging like really slowly. So as Marcin said, The Witcher 3 or Fallout 4, The Witcher 3 is a beautiful game, right? It looks amazing on the screens, and if you will review it right now, it will get 10 out of 10 easily. So the games age slower, hence there is more value in back catalog of proven by time games to the gamers. So how we do approach them, they know about these games because the community, the gamers talk about them constantly because they're still being played, right?
Yeah. So exactly that, and this is actually a very important point, because when I'm talking, at the very beginning here, when I told that we want to be basically the best platform for back catalog games, right? We are not talking only about the games from the 90s. We are talking about Witcher 3. We are talking about Fallout 4. We are talking about Skyrim, Prey, Dishonored. All of those games that are still absolutely phenomenal, right? You can launch them tomorrow and not really tell that they were released sometimes 10 or 15 years ago. and we want to basically be the objectively the best platform for that type of content, and we are working in that direction, and so far so good.
So we are hoping that our customers and gamers will be sure that the classic back catalog games bought on GOG will always work properly on the modern computer. So have not guarantee, but a certain certainty that once you will download it will run smoothly on your modern PC.
Yeah.
I think I shared this a couple of months ago, but we had a family friend who has a son like 8-9 years old, and they asked me if I had any classic Nintendo consoles or games, and I'm like, oh, like a NES or an SNES, and they're like, no, a Wii. I'm like, me, that is not. No, we're not doing this.
Yeah.
That is not classic gaming at this point.
Yeah,
The Wii does not count.
absolutely the point we were trying to make here. So yeah, it's a new word.
So I mean, along the same lines, if a developer wants to work with you, one, how do they get started and to get their game distributed on GOG? And then two, what kind of marketing and support can they expect from you all?
So yeah, there are a couple of ways to start the process of releasing the games on GOG, but a huge disclaimer here is basically like what Piotr said at the very beginning. We do not want to be like a marketplace when we are releasing almost everything. So that's actually one of the differences that there are between us and Steam. We are right now like a curated, you might say like a curated platform. So there is and by definition, there is a certain curation process, and that process is here in place because each and every release on GOG gets a marketing support, and the bare minimum that we are doing for all of the games that we are releasing on the platform is a separate news post, is a front page featuring, and social media push, and also presence in our weekly newsletter. So basically, all of those things are done kind of manually by our PR marketing teams. So there is a certain, capacity. There's a limited number of slots, so to speak, that we can use to release games. So this is one of the reasons why we cannot release absolutely everything. On top of that, all of the releases on GOG are also handled by our release team, meaning that we are making sure that everything is set up perfectly. All of the price lists are there, the product page is there. All of the assets are, aligned properly so that they look good on the website, and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of manual work that is done by us to make sure that each and every release has that level of quality, and the second is basically like they have that, window of exposure at GOG. So, and that is the bare minimum, right? We can do much more than that, even page takeovers and so on and so forth, dedicated newsletters, and there are many of those. So if you are a developer and want to release a game on GOG, and you do not have a publisher, because practically speaking, we have relations with, I want to say, every publisher in the world, every major one at least. Currently, we have like 2,000. So sorry, around 1,000 active partners that we are working with, more than that even. And you do not have publisher, you don't have any relations with GOG. Then the best way to do it is basically to write to us directly and with a pitch of your game, right? And then there is a certain curation process that takes place, and at the end of that, a decision is made to that either the game we believe will resonate with our audience or not. And unfortunately, we need to have that filter to be able to do all of those things for the games that we are able to release on the platform. And to be perfectly honest, like it's a process that is prone to human error, but no one was able to figure out something better. So that is the process that we are currently using. But the easiest way to do it is through the publisher, because it's way easier for us as well to curate the content through those channels that are already established than to talk with new parties, so to speak. That's not saying that, if you have the developer wants to self-publish, you cannot do it. No, the process is just a bit longer.
Yeah. So you might say the games get a friendly push from our side. Sometimes we work with a publisher or a developer to talk to him how to advertise the games better. As Marcin said, we have I think huge newsletters, social media. We do content around our games. We stream the games on our Twitch channel. So in a sense, we take some of the burden of marketing the game on the platform from the publisher and the developer, and I think that's cool from our side. And
yeah, and that marketing support is actually one of, because if it comes to sales, honestly speaking, the percentage that we are doing, the percentage of sales that we are doing with Scheme is varies, but it's for indie games, those are not usually are the best-selling titles, the titles that are resonating the most with the audience. But I want to say that the main value that the publishers and the developers of indie titles are getting out of GOG is exactly that marketing push, because because we are able to reach out to our entire audience. This is millions of users. And we got that, and those are the basically core gamers, right? And those are not just people who buy those games on GOG. This is the Witcher community. This is the Cyberpunk community. This is the community, all of the people we got through those Amazon Prime giveaways we just did, from Heroes, from mods, all of those stuff. So basically, we have all of those core gamers here. That we can access through all of those communication channels. And for a lot of them, the main platform for indie games might actually be Steam, might actually be consoles, might be Switch or wherever, right? But they still do have an account on GOG. They are still buying a certain types of games on the platform. So whenever you are releasing an indie game here, you get that additional exposure to that audience. And this is something that a lot of those games wouldn't be able to get from any other platforms that they are
without substantial financial contribution to bring the gamers and audience to the store page on any storefront.
All right, so I've got another question about new additions to the portfolio here, and it covers one of my favorite things about games, and that is mods. You've got a GOG mods thing now. What is that?
So maybe I'll take quickly, and Marcin will go into it. So we thought also about game preservation, that mods, the games as a vehicle for culture, not only they are culture, but also take out creativity out of people, and the mods are the way to prolong the life cycle of the game, but also do additional stuff around the games. But they are usually split on different websites and are hard to install. So this is the barrier when some of the gamers are not able to go through. So we thought, how can we do it better? So what we did is one-click mods. So we work closely with modding communities and make these mods on our website, so people know they are safe and easily accessible, and they install with one click. So you don't have to worry, and you don't have to read through all of these manuals how to install the mod and make it work. It just works. So for us, you can enjoy your game longer. B, we preserve the creativity that's around video games.
Yeah. So it came from a fact that is, I think, well known to many gamers, that basically there's a lot of those games have huge modding communities and absolutely phenomenal mods.
Yeah.
And we feel that most of the gamers have absolutely no idea how amazing content, how many amazing experiences is there that is not easily accessible in the form of mods. We came to a conclusion that so we need to somehow bring this back, right? What can we do to make this work? And that's how the whole idea about the GOG one-click mods started is that, hey, we can actually take all of those mods, highlight them, package them in a nice way, like in a secure way, and bundle them with the base game, configure everything automatically, and just have it there for the user to experience and install like any other game that they
so you can enjoy the mod without technical degree in programming, right?
Yeah, exactly the easiest possible experience. So you do not need to to buy the game, download it, then go to a sketchy website, download a torrent with the mod, then to go through 50 instruction like steps in the instruction how to install it, then troubleshoot it, and then give up because we already spent like 5 hours on this.
And it still crashes your game.
And it's like crashes your game, yeah. And on GOG, everything is packaged, tested. There's a whole QA process in it. We are practically speaking treating those mods as any other release on GOG. And we are focusing right now on the so-called, you might say, like total overhaul. So those are the big mods that are massively improving or adding to the game experience. So we have a couple of games that we released for Vampire, for Doom. There's a Phobos mod, and we also announced that Skyblivion will be on GOG, hopefully in the same form. And last but definitely not least, it's Heroes of Might and Magic 3 and Horn of the Abyss mod. So yeah, Heroes of Might and Magic 3 is like the huge in Poland, right? And I think in the
not only Poland, if you
Europe.
see the map of all-time bestsellers like Central Europe and Nordic countries, Heroes, like from the start of GOG, Heroes.
Yeah, and we are talking about mods like that. And Heroes of Might and Magic 3 Horn of the Abyss is practically speaking, I don't know, a set of at least a couple of expansions worth of content, additional features, balance updates, and so like this campaigns, new factions, all in an absolutely amazing quality that is added to the game, and it's available practically speaking for free. So
and also
it's,
like
this is basically that type of experience, that type of content that we wanted to basically be able to bring to the mainstream player to enjoy, and there will be more like that. We actually, I think, are launching a new set of one-click mods next week, and we are already working on the biggest that we ever released. That will be hopefully launching at the end of the next month. And once we have it out, I think we will make a lot of people happy, because currently the installation process for that particular mod is, even for an experienced person, it's at least 2 hours.
Also, like with the indie or Aversus, we also put some marketing and PR behind the mods, and also put a spotlight on the creators, so you could see videos of them talking about their mods, how they did it, like about their passion. And we try to work with our partners, so some of them were highlighted and featured in the recent, I think it was June edition of PC Gaming Show. So yes, also here we put the PR marketing, we make them more visible to the gamers.
I love it. I mean, I have games right now that I play actively that I am literally waiting on mods to be updated before I dive back into the latest version of them. So, and for those of you who aren't old and have never played Heroes of Might and Magic, it's actually on sale on GOG for like $5, and you can't beat that. So
yeah, but you cannot go wrong with that.
Yeah.
Like, believe me, the best spend $5 in your life probably. Our game is absolutely phenomenal, and it's like 20-something years old.
Yeah, don't mention that part. I don't.
Yes, but just look at the screenshots, and you will be already, I think, sold.
Guys, thank you so much for coming on here. I mean, this is fantastic. I love the work that y'all are doing with the preservation. I do not, can't imagine what you have to go through to get to some of these rights, and don't want to be in your shoes for that. So, I'll leave it to you all and the private investigators. But yeah, anything y'all want to plug? Anything you want to put out there promotion-wise for everyone to hear?
I should, but I haven't thought about anything.
So from our side, be sure to follow us and read our news on our newsletters and Twitter. We do have additional stuff, not only promotional about video games, but sometimes we talk about important issues. We might have some surprises for you in terms of content from Heroes really soon. Also, other types of things that will feature. I don't want to go into details, but we did some important cultural stuff that we will also show you what we did. So be sure to go there. If you would like to help us fighting the good fight about game preservation, be sure to vote and share your stories about on the dream list. That really helps, and it does matter to both us and the IP owners. And hopefully, if you buy the games from us, you will give us more resources to bring back more games, make them more accessible, make them live forever, and make all of the memories that you get from playing them, all the things that shaped you as a person, as a gamer, be alive and be accessible to the future generations.
Yeah, like, share, and subscribe.
Smash that
And
subscribe
follow.
button.
Follow.
I think it's one of the reasons I've never taken off as a YouTuber, because I refuse to say that anywhere in the process. Like, I have a little more self-respect for that. Not a lot. All right, and from the indie game business side, we are going to be back on a more regular schedule now that I have stopped going to conferences till at least October. We've got some really cool stuff coming up on the Discord, and the Discord, by the way, hit 10,000 subscribers while I was at GameCon.
Congrats.
So,
Congratulations.
holy shit. Look for that. We've got new stuff coming. We have our next online conference coming up on in mid-September. So as always, tickets are free if you just want to watch and participate in the sessions themselves. If you want to do the meet to match, low price of $50. And that's about it for right now. It's like, I really appreciate these guys. Keep it up. If we could ever help, let me know. And to everybody else,
Thank you.
I hope you have
And
a good
thanks for
weekend.
having us.
Thank you for having us. Yeah.
Have a good weekend, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.